Welcome to the Pod Sham Pod. We are back, joined by, as always, by my co-host Drew Semler. Drew, how you doing?
Just eternally grateful for the corporate world and the life that I've built for myself.
Nice. And joined by a very special guest. We've had him on a couple times before, but we had to put out the bat signal with LeBron James going to Philadelphia. We have not podded since the decision. He posts multiple times a day just the text, LeBron James is a Philadelphia 76er. And I can tell it makes my day every time. TrillBroDude from the You Know Ball Pod. Trill, where's your head at right now? How close are you to processing this reality?
It still doesn't feel real, to be honest with you. It's been less than a week. And when the day that we found out that he was going to the Sixers, just a few things real quick. One, I had already convinced myself he was not coming here. I had hope in the beginning, but as the decision got dragged along, a lot of people had the opposite reaction, which was like, if he's taking this long, like if he was just going back to Miami or Cleveland, wouldn't he have just made the decision already? And the Warriors keep saying that they're out of it. And I got information from someone who knows an active NBA player that was like, LeBron told him he's not going to Philly. And I was just like and I literally started pivoting to like Jordan is the GOAT cope. Like I was like so sad that LeBron could do this to us again after it felt like this was possibly like the third time that we could come in second or third place for LeBron. And then earlier in that week, I got duped by a fake Shams because I have multiple Twitter accounts. And on my second Twitter account, which I use to post videos on for the podcast, I got a notification, just a push notification from Sharms Sharania, because they send out those when tweets blow up, and it said LeBron was signing with the Sixers, like literally word for word, the same tweet that Sham sent out. So when we got it, I stared at it for a minute straight and was just like, no, this isn't real. No. And I'm like, this is the real Shams. I go to the Discord and everyone is screaming in the Discord. My phone turns into a diamond. Like I literally cannot use my phone because I got hit up from people that I haven't spoke to since like college, and I'm 36 years old. Like I'm literally talking about people that haven't spoken to me in 10 to 15 years, reaching out because they know how important this is to me. And there were people that like aren't even aware of like the podcast and stuff that have reached out to me. So it's just been a monumental time to be a Sixers fan. I was just down the shore and they are like, I've never seen more people in Ocean City, New Jersey, Sea Isle wearing Sixers shit. Like they already had the fake LeBron shirts all ready to go on the boardwalk. It has just been absolutely an insane week. And that's honestly nothing new for the Sixers, but I think this is probably the highest high that I've had as a Sixers fan in forever. I can't remember a time like this before.
It's worth it for the Photoshops alone, honestly, of just that starting five all in the same jerseys.
It's incredible. It's incredible that I've heard people be able to spin that getting LeBron James on a veterans minimum actually isn't good. Like I was like, I know that it's good. I know that it's great because we have literally gotten the contrarian cope pivot of like, actually, no, LeBron making $4 million a year is not that big of a deal for a team that was kind of stuck in cap hell even after the Jaylen Brown trade. Like they needed something like this just to make the roster make more sense and also get them out of a little bit of that contract hell while they're riding out Joel Embiid's massive deal.
Mana from heaven.
I think the people saying that this is a bad deal are the same people who were saying LeBron is the number one guy you still want in the playoffs after the Paris Olympics, you know?
Yeah. And also
they just live on the extremes.
We saw LeBron. Now, obviously there's context to this. Luka was out and the Rockets didn't have Kevin Durant and Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams and all that stuff in that series. But I just watched a playoff series where LeBron was the best player on the floor at age 41.
Yeah.
He was so good.
Like, and just being in shock and disbelief the entire time that he's still able to do it. And honestly, after like, it's easy to write off LeBron at the beginning of every season when he comes back as an old man and he kind of gets into the swing of things and he plays his way into shape. And every year, like from January on, he still looks like an all NBA, all-star level player. And it is just surreal to me that he'll be playing for the Sixers, and he is just such a perfect fit for what this roster needs. Like, when you looked at this team, I was lower than the rest of the Philly media, I think, on this team, just because I was like, all right, you have the Joel Embiid availability questions. You also have like Jaylen Brown, who just came off a season where he was the man, averaging 30 points a game, just crazy scoring usage season. And now you're going to ask him to scale down a little bit. And then on top of that, you have this, like, you just gave up the Clippers pick, which was your most prized asset. So it's not like you can really make a whole lot of other moves. And the main thing that I was worried about was, like, they want to run, but who's going to get them in transition and really get them out running? And then 2, the passing and playmaking on this roster is just subpar. It's just not, like, the best players that's not their best strength. Like, Joel's the best passer of our best players, and Joel might miss a ton of time. And also, he's not the greatest passer in the world. And I would say getting LeBron James for a veteran's minimum makes a lot of those questions go out of the window. And for the first time in my life, not only do the Sixers have an incredible starting 5, but it feels like they have real depth. Like, they have NBA players coming off the bench in a way that they have never had before in my life.
Yeah. And they also haven't had just a competent power forward, it feels like, in so long. And that was a glaring hole after the Jaylen Brown trade of just who was going to start at the 4 for this team. And now, like, they're going to have size in a way that they didn't, particularly last year. I felt like that really jumped out. Was, aside from Embiid, they were just pretty undersized. And now, LeBron is a big player, even at the 4. Jaylen Brown's a wing-sized guy. The backcourt maybe still like a tiny bit undersized, but like perfectly fine for a backcourt. And that's just not going to be a hole at sort of the most basic level in the way that it was before.
Yeah, Dean Wade coming off the bench. Like, they have real guys now in a way that I just have not felt like before.
Yeah, it's so obvious. Like, every guy just slots into a spot that seems much more championship possible. Like I know Sixers fans who are like asking me about Dean Wade, like trying to talk themselves into him as, like, a sure thing starter on a real contender. And that's like sort of the realm with Dean Wade, where you start to wonder, like, are we stretched too thin at that spot? As soon as you add, the NBA equivalent of 39-year-old Messi to that picture, like, everything just feels so different. And my heart tells me that he is about to have a 39-year-old Messi World Cup-esque moment, because LeBron, like you said, like, it's LeBron. We've never seen him be bad, period. It's hard for me to imagine him, unless it's injury. I feel like if he's physically capable of playing basketball, he will be a massive asset to this team, because he's too much of a genius on the court. And it's pretty sick that he could have stayed in his, like, insanely beautiful corner of LA. He could have teamed up with, like, Team USA and Golden State, although he probably has too much ego to be, like, the fans' second favorite guy on the team. And he decided that Philly was the best basketball situation, the chance that gives, his best chance at getting one more ring. And the fact that a billionaire at 41 still is just so thirsty for that one more ring is kind of the coolest part of this for me.
And we just saw with the Knicks, right? Like, when you win in a city in the Northeast that's, like, starved for a title, it will mean infinitely more if they can do it in Philly, as opposed to him going back to Miami and having them win their 4th championship. Or even, honestly, I don't think he could top 2016 with the Cavs.
Yeah.
And, like, the Warriors fans are spoiled. I think this is the best, just kind of, like, if it doesn't work, he can kind of, like, be like, well, look, I gave it my best shot. And, whether it's Joel's health or it's, whatever it is that for whatever reason it does not work, we can all just be like, LeBron went there, took the vet minimum, and he was 41. Like, you can't have these expectations that he's primed LeBron James going to a team. But if it does work, the upside is immense. And he wanted to do this for the Knicks. Like, he wanted to go there and have that be kind of the end of his storybook career. And then they just became incredibly competent, relevant, and title worthy overnight, seemingly. I mean, it's hard to imagine that 4 years ago we would be talking about the Knicks in this capacity. And I think he saw what that looked like and said, I have the relationship with Tyrese Maxey. He wanted Nick Nurse to coach the Lakers in the past. And I think the most important thing is that, like, Daryl Morey being gone, like, obviously I don't think he would have come here if Morey were still running the team, because they have that weird, thing over Hong Kong. And then also on top of that, you have the fact that, like, Morey is he's like, at least at one point was like the media darling, analytical darling GM. I think he's been surpassed in that regard by multiple other front offices since then. But also, like, Morey's just been kind of sitting on his hands for a while now. Like, Morey's never, I've said, I think it's insane that he has this reputation for being insanely aggressive, but I think he's one of the most conservative GMs in the history of the NBA. Like, I genuinely don't know what's the aggressive move he made, trading for James Harden and giving up basically nothing to do it, or okay, trading all these protected picks for Russell Westbrook, which bought low on Chris Paul. That didn't work. Then he tries the Russell Westbrook thing, and he puts so many protections on those picks, they don't even convert. Like, none of those picks converted. So when he got here and he had this reputation to be an aggressive guy, I was like, we're going to spend every asset. We're going to push in all the chips. And he constantly just kind of did half measures. And I feel like LeBron saw this new front office come in and say, we're going to go for it right now and trade Paul George because he's not available enough. And he's just too old, and we can't rely on both him and Joel Embiid to stay healthy, and go get Jaylen Brown. And then we're going to spend every single dollar that we have in free agency to take guys like Anthony Simons away from other teams, to take guys like Dean Wade away from the Cavs, and try to build a real team. And I think that if they get to the deadline and they have problems, like, this front office is not going to be scared to push in the chips. Like, they just got LeBron James on a vet minimum. They just traded for Jaylen Brown. Joel Embiid, who knows how much time he has left. And I just feel like LeBron sees that and he respects that. Like, that's what he wants his teams to do all the time, for better or for worse, to be clear. Like, that has backfired on his teams before, but when you have a player of his caliber, you should be pushing in all the chips and not worrying about 5 years from now, like the mistake that the Golden State Warriors made in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah. And I think it's safe to say this probably doesn't happen without them trading for Jaylen Brown as well. Yeah. Like, it's Daryl Morey being gone. It's them trading for Jaylen Brown, and kind of the options that were on the table, I think he probably looked at Cleveland, and there wasn't that much more to accomplish there. And I think the fact that James Harden was there, he probably just saw as, like, totally incompatible with how he wanted to play basketball. Miami, I think even if they got him, wouldn't have been close enough to really competing. Like, the Philly roster without LeBron is significantly, I think, closer than the Miami roster without LeBron. And, he could have gone to, like, a San Antonio or a Minnesota, where I think that team probably I would like even more than this current Sixers team with LeBron. But he clearly wanted to go to a franchise that he either had some history with or had some level of, like, marquee history to it, and where he doesn't have to, live in the cold Minnesota winter and things like that.
Yeah, I think the cold Minnesota, I mean, not that Philly's warm in the winter, it's just a much shorter winter and it's not quite as cold. But, like, I think the fact that Minnesota is as cold as it is, and someone brought this up to me, and I don't know if you guys, like, agree with this, but, like, he got drafted by the Cavs. He's from Ohio. He got recruited to Miami by Wade, and they had the whole Heat culture thing, and they had already won a championship and all of that, and they had Pat Riley, and someone said to me, like, Sean Highkin said, like, LeBron is just not gonna go. Like, he played for the Lakers. He's not gonna play for, like, a non-marquee franchise. Like, he thinks about the legacy stuff so much that, like, even teams like the Nuggets who won a championship, like, I don't think he views that situation as, like, when you look back on his career and you think about every jersey that he wore, that there's a level of whether, once again, the Sixers have not, colored themselves great in the last 30 to 40 years, but they are one of the original NBA teams. Like, in terms of, like, they were extremely successful in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then since then, it's been a massive mixed bag, to say the least. And I think it's the upside of it all. And also, like I've been pulling my hair out a little bit just listening to people be like, yeah, well, that's like, like they would have been better off having Paul George. And it's like, okay, but here's the thing. LeBron, because I get what people are trying to say. Like the Paul George scales better than Jaylen Brown.
Mhm.
Like Paul George will shoot off the catch. He's a better team defender. He's not going to turn the ball over quite as much as Jaylen Brown. Like I get what people are trying to say. But 41-year-old LeBron isn't going to look at a team with Joel Embiid and Paul George on it and say, those guys are going to be healthy enough that if I want to take a rest or I don't want to go full throttle, that I'll be able to even just get to the playoffs in general. Like Paul George played 50% of the games with the Sixers in 2 years. And then on top of that, like, I think one of the real reasons why he reconsidered was like, he looked at that Miami team and like you said, like their roster is incomplete now. And they feel like they're probably closer to a championship a year from now. And he doesn't have a ton of time left. And like, I know Giannis has been healthy in the regular season. He's not been healthy in the playoffs recently. But what if Giannis's calf injuries are just persistent? Like, what if he misses 30 games again next year?
Yeah.
I don't think that team makes the playoffs. So, like, I think that he viewed the Jaylen Brown move as a move that they were going to be aggressive and try to compete. But on top of that, like, he just values the availability and the ability to just kind of coast in the regular season and then try to figure it out on the fly, as opposed to having like going to a team that's so dependent on someone like Giannis, or even like, I mean, Minnesota would absolutely be better if like they got LeBron and then they, like LaMelo, just his injuries kept reoccurring, but it obviously would lower their ceiling very similarly to the way that it does with Joel Embiid. And my whole thing on this is like, I was worried about our center rotation without Joel Embiid. And now I'm like, I don't really think it matters as much. Like, I do think it obviously matters because center is like extremely important nowadays. And like having a good center rotation is important, but LeBron has made a career out of like improving centers and making their lives better throughout his career in a way that we just did not have before. So like, I watched us compete in the playoffs without Joel against teams that I viewed to be much better than us. Like I thought the Celtics, especially when we didn't have Joel, were massively better than us. And game 2 of the Knicks series was the closest that we had when Joel didn't play. So I'm like, I think that all of these things were being taken into account. And I hope it isn't the case, but I also think that like, if Joel's just at a different stage of his career, and it's just like all the problems that we saw defensively from him in that Knicks series are persistent. Like he doesn't move as well. He gets attacked and drop coverage more often. The rebounding isn't there. Like he's still a fantastic offensive player, but he's more like closer to those offensively tilted centers that just cannot be what he used to be on defense. Like the Nikola Vucevic's and the Sabonises and those kind of guys. I do wonder if like LeBron goes, I know this front office is going to do whatever it takes with me in there. And like, if it means attaching all their picks and even maybe LeBron Philon to go get someone, I think that they would consider doing something like that. So once again, like, I think that there was just a number of different things that he considered. And I just feel like I can't believe he chose them, but I do think that this team does have a championship level ceiling. And I think that they're going to be a demonic transition team in the regular season.
Yeah. You mentioned Philon. What do you think, if you had to guess, are the odds that LeBron watched Philon Alabama tape before making his decision?
I'm going to say very low chance of that, but I will say LeBron Philon, if LeBron is on TikTok, or maybe Bryce James is sending him TikToks, I don't know, of LeBron Philon aura edits, I would say there's no way that you can't buy in when you watch just a little bit of like, that was, I mean, I loved Philon in the draft. I had him 7th on my board.
Me too.
And I felt
not 7, but I loved him.
Like, I do wonder if you gave the front office true serum right now, if they would be like, yeah, if we knew we were getting LeBron and Jaylen Brown, we probably would have drafted like Zuby Ejiofor or Harris Reed or something, just because positionally it makes a lot more sense. Even though he is a point guard, like he's also best with the ball and he's going to be a creator. And I think that he's probably someone that is a year or two away from being like a playoff level player at least. And I do wonder if they would reconsider that. But I also think that like that is our 11th man now. Like I was wondering, like after the draft, like is he instantly our best bench player and like our sixth man. And now I'm like, oh, well, he's behind Wade, Simons, KCP, Don Barlow.
It's a Justin Edwards night.
I'm so happy to not ever have to worry about relying on Justin Edwards basketball and real set. Like, awesome guy. I think that he is someone that is like, he's from here. He's a great locker room dude. Everyone loves him. But I just had this pit in my stomach thinking about like, are we really going to have to just like rely on Justin Edwards and Jabari Walker? And now they're the end of the roster. Like they are like our 13th and 14th men on this team. And I just feel like,
and jokes aside, they're like good culture guys to have at 13 and 14.
Totally good culture guys. And also like when it's the dregs of the season, they are high variance, usually trending in the negative direction, I would say, just because of their lack of athleticism. But the games that you have, like you're a Portland fan, like Jabari has these occasional games where he just gets like 12 rebounds and makes a few threes, and you're like, oh, okay, like you can hang a little bit in bench minutes against bench units in January and February and March. And Justin Edwards, for all of the things that drives me insane, mainly on the defensive side of the court with him, he had a game last year against the Celtics where he made 8 threes. So like, if we're going to have those guys, like those younger guys at the end of our roster, I would rather have it be great culture guys who also can occasionally pop off and have these high upside games.
You brought up having Phylon 7th, and then you brought up the Blazers, and it just made me think I almost got what you experienced with Phylon. I had it in 2025 with Cedric Howard for about a minute before we traded him for Jan Hansen. So just be grateful for that, whatever happens this year. I had that with Mikal Bridges first off. And then also second off, I was literally on draft night, like, please don't trade him for some random guy. It was crazy. He fell to you.
Someone was going to fall, one of those guards.
But also LeBron's an IQ guy. You know, he looks at Phylon and he's like, is that Rondo light? Because I miss playing with guys who are almost as smart as I am.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron. They're two peas in a pod.
I will always have a soft spot for Daryl Morey because I think if I piece together the 2018 Rockets that like took that Warriors team to 7 and should have won, but went like 7 of 44 from 3, I'd probably sort of have a derangement syndrome for the rest of my career and just believe myself to be a god. But yeah, it's been a wild few years. I feel like the reason he gets that reputation for being so aggressive is that like his most aggressive moves have been some of the most famous players ever, you know, like of this generation. So it just feels like he's like a tabloid GM. He also likes the attention. He's a celebrity GM.
Of course.
But yeah, I've been holding that in for about 10 minutes.
To be clear, I think that Morey, if I were running a team that won, it's funny because he never wants to rebuild. If I were running a team that was rebuilding, I would hire him because I think he's good at draft stuff. And I think he's good at like, he would be really good at like tearing a team down and rebuilding it. But like, I just don't think that he's built to be a GM in 2026. He doesn't value depth. Like and like depth, in my opinion, with all the injuries nowadays, is just more important than it's ever been. And I was screaming this 2 years ago, like, why are we burning 4 roster spots? Like we had Kyle Lowry, Reggie Jackson, like we had guys that were just like done. Eric Gordon. And then we had just because he had to do the 3 max thing. We also had an open roster spot because and by the way, we have an open roster spot this year. I'm fine with it this year, to be clear, because they got fucking LeBron James.
It's going to be Bronny.
Yeah, it will be Bronny at some point, probably at the deadline. But the long and short of it is that, like, I think Morey was good for 10 years ago because he could identify high level talent and he drafted well and he bought low on some of the best players of all time. And I think that the game just kind of passed him by and he relies on this like old school model of team building. And look, all things considered, he still only had a losing record 1 season in his entire career.
Right. So far.
So how about that spacing? I honestly, like, I just feel like all of your shooters, except Jaylen Brown when he's really in his head, like will be respected. So I saw someone say, the NBA average 3-point percentage last year was 36%, and the Sixers are about to trot out like all like below league average. Well, I think Maxi's one of the best shooters on earth. Because of his motor on offense, his willingness to move really quickly and find open space. Like
his release is ridiculous.
I'm the most confident in him, like being on ball a little bit less. But I totally agree with your earlier point that I feel like LeBron looked at this roster, said like 2 out of that top 3 will probably resemble themselves, whereas in Miami, you're spinning the wheel on Giannis's health and then it's only Bam. Like the Sixers just have more positive outcomes. The thing is though, with Embiid, like when he's not himself and he's on the floor, he so often feels like there's a rain cloud over his head, and it can be really hard. Like an energetic vacuum. Like when you see him limping, it's not his fault. Like it's obviously a real physical problem. But you see the depression sink in for him, and I feel like that's bad to have in the air when you're really trying to win a title. Obviously,
I don't disagree. I think he was better with that this past year because I do feel like he kind of has a different approach than he had in the past. Because in the past, it was like kind of a woe is me thing where it was just like, man, I can never stay healthy. It's never going to happen for me. And then I think him having a year away from basketball, basically in 2024, 2025, made him realize like, I just should be grateful to play. And I was always critical of Joel like earlier for the playoff dropping stuff. And I think more of the playoff stuff now is just physical limitations with him than it was in the past, where it felt like if we could get this version of Joel's mindset back into early Joel's brain, he would be, or body, he would be fully unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there was always, whether it was like the conditioning or it was the big moments where he just kind of, disappeared in big playoff games, it always felt like I said, like that could drag down like the vibes of a team. But I would say last year was like the most positive I've seen Joel in terms of being a good teammate when he wasn't playing, being there and being like coaching up some of the younger guys, and when he's on the court, like communicating and once again, like I think being away from basketball for a year really did make him appreciate this a lot more. And he talked about this, like, I really do wish that one day I can get back to being myself. And we've seen glimpses, like really towards the end of this regular season, right up until he had the appendectomy. And by the way, he was coming off of the oblique injury. It's just always something with Joel, where he has the oblique injury, the knee finally is looking better, and then he has the oblique, then he comes back, and then he has the appendectomy. And I just think that like the way that he has pushed through all this shit, coming back at literally the earliest possible time that he could from the surgery to just be like, we're going to go win the Celtics series. I think that changed the perception around him amongst guys like LeBron. I think it changed the perception of him amongst, honestly, some of the media, maybe not all of the media. And I do think that the way that like this, Maxey is ultimately the emotional leader of this team. And I think that on his best day, Joel Embiid is still the best player on this team. I think that Maxey in his current upcoming role, this might be the best version of Maxey that we've ever seen. Because I've been begging for years just to be like, can we get when Joel doesn't play or Joel's off the court, can we get someone just to run actions with Maxey? Can we get can it not just be like a guy who's gonna be like a dirty work big that gets a ton of offensive rebounds and is like, decent on defense, but like a Bona or a Drummond,
Don Barlow,
or whatever, like, or even Don Barlow. Like, I was just hoping that we could get someone, and I was always like, can we just get Draymond? Like, is there a way that we can get there is
now
no
you
other
can.
Draymond. Now I'm like, now we might be able to actually get Draymond.
Draymond's going to be sitting courtside at all the games he can get to.
Yeah, although I didn't like his comments about VJ, so I might go back on that one. But the long and short of this is that LeBron is the guy, like, it's to have basically, if you watch that Rockets Lakers series, it was it's honestly the way that JJ Redick used him was similar to the way that the Warriors used Draymond. and similar to the way that the Sixers use Embiid, where he was like posting up at the elbow and he was doing dribble handoffs and these things that I've just been hoping forever. And yeah, I have seen the people talk about the shooting, and I'm like, I'm not worried about that. Like, not only do they have someone in Simons who's one of the best shooters in the NBA coming off the bench, Maxey, as you said, when we get Maxey out of, contested pull-up threes, he's going to shoot 40%. Like, he's always been an elite catch and shoot guy. We haven't had the ability to get him those looks when Joel doesn't play. And then on top of that, like, I know VJ Edgecombe, the way he's built, he's going to come back better next year as a shooter. Joel and Jaylen are the question marks, where it's just like, all right, Jaylen, you've been really up and down. You said you want to show that you have no ego. I'll believe it when I see that. And then Embiid, like, we've had this vision for him for years. Like, can he age better if he just shoots more threes? And I do think that he has that in him, but he's just been programmed to be a star forever. And it takes a lot of conditioning to work that out of your game. Like, not everyone has a Al Horford, Brook Lopez shoots threes at the end of their career and pushes it for 5 longer years than we ever expected. And Joel is now kind of at that crossroads. Like, I do think that he needs to shoot more threes. I think he needs to get more comfortable running actions from outside of the arc as opposed to near the elbow and on the inside. And he needs to give as much space for guys like Jaylen and LeBron this upcoming season.
Yeah. So, the Brian Johnson guy who's like trying to live forever.
Yeah, legend.
I can't get him off my feed. I think I blocked him like 7 times and somehow I'm still getting like data on the woman he's with. But I feel like if we should be getting blood transfusions from VJ and Tyrese to Embiid and LeBron. Like that feels like
I don't think LeBron needs it.
That just feels like it should be a thing for the Yeah, LeBron doesn't.
LeBron's got his own ways.
There's something to like it's hard to mope as Joel Embiid now, like with the positive energy you get from those two guards. Like they're two of the most fun players in the league, period. And they play with such like grit and joy that I feel like it's a really good counterbalance to the weathered old heroes in the front court. And then with Jaylen Brown, I'm like, part of me is like, you're getting him at the best time ever, like a man with everything to prove. Mm-hmm. Part of me is like, this is the worst time to get him because he's going to be so stubborn and offensively difficult to infuse into like a real team concept. And like the truth is, hopefully he's healthy and he's like probably somewhere between those outcomes. Like he's that, of course, like I don't think Jaylen Brown is the 7th most valuable player on a really good team. He's obviously better than that. And I it'll be really interesting to see like what his level of commitment is to fitting into a new team. And what I'll end on before I give Max the mic is
I'm dying for it.
The Sixers were outscored last season, negative point differential in the regular season. The last team to have a negative point differential and then win the title the next year, the 2020 Lakers, LeBron in the bubble. So clip that.
I do want to talk about the kind of on-court synergy and like what the ideal usage kind of hierarchy is. Because one thing I do worry about with this is I feel like at this point in all of their careers, Maxey should probably have the highest usage of these guys, at least over the course of the regular season. You know, if you have a healthy Joel Embiid, you're going to play through him. That's kind of what you have to do if he's out there and healthy. But it feels like the idealized version of this team has Maxey as the head of the snake. And I worry a little bit with the stature that Embiid and LeBron have, and then everything that Jaylen Brown is trying to prove with, like, honestly, the kind of like embarrassing way that the whole Boston exit went down. I'm sure he feels that way about it. And Maxey being sort of as amicable as a guy as he is, and he's a competitor. He's not like a pushover, but he's also very tapped into team chemistry. And of the 4 is probably the least likely one to be like, to hell with this, give me the ball and get out of the way. I worry a little bit if too often he's going to get pushed down the sort of usage hierarchy where he's 3rd or even 4th when I think for the majority of the time he should be at the top of that list.
So I guess my thing is that I think that Maxey is just a different kind of star, because I've been saying for the last few years, I would prefer for him not to play like he did this past year, where he proved that he was good enough to do it, but the idealized version of Tyrese Maxey is closer to a diet Steph Curry than it is to a James Harden or Chris Paul or even Damian Lillard. Like, I don't think that Maxey is someone that should be I think his usage, I guess where I kind of just like feel different about this is that like, I think Maxey is used best when he is off of the ball and he commands so much attention when he doesn't have the ball, because he's such an elite catch and shoot guy, because he has that quick release, because he can get downhill in a blur, that I feel like having a partner, whether it's Joel or LeBron at all times, will just maximize the version that he can be. Like, his efficiency will skyrocket. I think when he's on the court, the Sixers will have an elite offense just because of that threat and because he bends the defense in such a unique way. And then throughout the course of the season, like, you're going to have games where Joel's out. You're going to have games where LeBron's out. And that is when it's up to Maxey to scale up in the way that he did this past year, where, you know, he started off the year averaging 30 points a game on, 60 true shooting, and we had like a 125 offensive rating with him on the court to start the year. It was like crazy. But then he came back down to earth a little bit. I think some of that was that he ran out of gas. And I think another part of that was that teams kind of adjusted to this new style that the Sixers were playing. And I think that Maxey is probably going to, like, quote unquote, sacrifice for the best of the team. But I do think that it ultimately benefits him to get him a little bit more in the rhythm of the offense, as opposed to being like, you have to dribble up and lead the league in touches and all of the stuff that, like, I just think is a little bit above his head, because he's not a traditional kind of star when we think about it as a guard. I do think that once again, all of this is like, he knows how to play with Embiid. He'll figure out how to play with LeBron. It all comes down to the Jaylen Brown thing for me. Like, I'm just like, if Jaylen truly is seeking for revenge this year, I do think the best way that he can prove that is do what he did for the Celtics a few years ago. I think that Jaylen's gotten a little bit underrated when it comes to the malleability of his game, to be honest with you. Because I think that people just say, like, well, he's not great with catch and shoot threes. And, he has these massive flaws in his game, the off-ball defense, all of that stuff. But, like, there aren't many guys that are his size that are like, yeah, I'll guard Joel Embiid at the end of a playoff game. Mm-hmm. And there aren't many guys that are, he was terrible when he came in the league offensively and built himself into, like, a really good offensive player. Like, this past year was probably the closest to, like, a DeMar DeRozan-esque season from him. But in the past, he's been, like, a finals MVP that was playing within a loaded team, yes, a super team, yes, but, like, he fit in. And there are many lineups that you can find on the Celtics where Jaylen Brown was a part of these, like, elite offensive lineups. Mm-hmm. And I project him to be part of a lot of those on the Sixers as well. It just comes down to, like, are you willing to take less shots because you literally led the league in shots last year? Are you willing to play more, once again, within the flow of an offense, as opposed to having to command as many on-ball touches as you did last year? And honestly, I kind of think that, because my thing with the Cleveland fit was, like, who's guarding point of attack with that roster? Like, Evan Mobley is their best point of attack defender of that starting five if he goes there. And now it's like, Jaylen, you want Jaylen at the point of attack. Like, you want Jaylen on the ball guarding the other team's best player. He didn't have to do it when they had Drew Holiday, and he could save himself a little bit. But, like, you don't want Jaylen standing under the rim and having to, like, read the offense. Like, you want
stay away from Drew Holiday, by the way. Don't come near us.
We're not getting that was first off, I don't know if you guys know.
Was that Charms? Was that also Charms?
It was an Instagram post from a completely non-sourced account, and LeBron stands and Sixers fans saw it. And to be fair, it's fair to be delusional as a Sixers fan right now based on how everything's gone over the last few weeks. But I was just like, guys, Drew Holiday is like one of the only good players that we know is going to play for the Blazers this year. And on top of that, like they need him to be like a wing for them. Like they don't have, like they just built this roster of guards. They need him to be like a small forward. Like
because our human fans deserve a basketball team.
Yeah.
You know,
I was gonna say, yeah. Don't tell Dundon that you could get out of $4 million of his contract.
We're one of the teams that has human fans who actually want to watch a team win occasionally.
Yeah.
You know,
is that too much to ask?
I don't even care about the aprons. I don't care about winning a title. Just an occasional win. Yeah.
This was me a year ago. I mean, I can't believe we are here because I think probably the last time I came on, I was like, just get me back to the playoffs. Like,
yeah,
let's compete. Let's have fun. And that's exactly what this season was. Like, I never anticipated them to win a playoff series. And I do think that, like, and look, I don't know what VJ's ceiling is ultimately, but I do think that that pick completely changed the trajectory of the team. Not only because he was good right away, because he is just like such an infectious personality.
He's a ray of light.
He really was like it was like getting a second Maxey, and like Maxey was fighting through the terrain. He was the soldier with PTSD.
You have these beautiful kids in the house that are giving like recovering alcoholic fathers a reason to believe again. You know, it's like, God, like Embiid's like, I was so over this whole basketball career thing.
I really thought he was going to retire.
I'm so rich. I don't need to do this anymore. People are so mean to me. And now it's like, these kids, look at them dancing. They don't know the pain that I know. And maybe they can teach me how to love again.
Yeah.
One of the most uniquely beautiful things about basketball is how every team is a different whole than the sum of its parts. And this is just like one of those rosters that looks like it'll be an extreme example of that. I mean, kind of inherently, because no one can be exactly who they were before. Like everyone's role is changing year over year on some level. And I agree. Like when I see like the usage argument, like this is the most previous year usage that's ever been put into a starting lineup. I'm like, well, what happened to it being great when you have guys who can scale down a little bit and are capable of handling a lot more when they need to, especially because everyone gets hurt in the NBA in 2026.
Exactly.
Like and
also,
every year we forget injuries happen. Every year it's like, oh yeah, like
Philly fans don't forget.
This Sixers team at 100% full strength will have too much usage.
I know that the Celtics from like 2 years ago were like the idealized version of modern basketball, but like they basically were starting basically had 5 or 6 all-stars on that team. And like, I know that they might fit into roles a little bit better. And I know that they might have more like traditional role player attributes, but like I talked about Maxey playing off the ball. I think he's a much improved defender. VJ is like already a great role player. And that was the thing that I felt the most disconnect hearing people talk about him, where it was like, oh man, what is this going to do for VJ Edgecombe? I was like, help him lead the league in transition points potentially. And if he comes back a better catch and shoot guy, like be a 40% 3-point shooter and get multiple offensive rebounds in every single game because they're going to ask him to do that. And he does whatever, and maybe lead the league in loose balls recovered again. And
and like still dunk on people and still get Josh Hart championship rebounds like in the fourth quarter.
I was going to say the two guys I've compared him to is Derek White.
Yeah. And when I call him a ray of light, it's because he does things that help you win literally no matter what his role is.
Exactly.
Like a lot of those things are actually easier to do when the ball's in your hands less.
Yeah.
I've always thought that like I didn't think it was going to happen this fast, but I always thought that like the idealized version of VJ was going to be similar to like Andre Iguodala on those championship teams for the Warriors. And I mean, maybe he's not the level of defender that Iguodala was, but I think he might have potential to be a better offensive player. And I watch Iggy on the Sixers, and I remember for years pulling out my hair and being like, this guy is so fucking good at basketball. I used to argue at the lunch table because people were like, we should have taken J.R. Smith or Josh Smith instead of him. And I was like, you don't know what you're watching. Like, he's so good at every element of basketball except for shooting, but he got better at that too.
And venture capital, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will say he's I'll say this much about Iggy. Watch his interviews. You'll come away a little bit like he's pro universal healthcare. He's into.
I'm fully kidding. I just went to his website recently, and it was a huge geek. But he might be a brilliant investor.
Group economics.
What was it?
He did group economics in the bubble, and I was like, I'm not going to look into what that means. But I saw a clip about him being like, I should have to pay more taxes so that people can have healthcare.
Yeah.
And I was like, respect. Not a lot of people that have made as much money as he has.
And now his company's called something Group, so he stuck to it.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I don't think VJ will.
I always viewed him as.
I don't think VJ will ever see the floor like Iggy did, but like role wise and the way that he connects different skill sets, like I understand what you mean. I think I had Khan over VJ because like sort of agreeing with you here. Like if anything, I was like VJ's ceiling maybe isn't the most interesting to me at number 3 in that draft. I saw him more as like such a positive addition to any team, almost like a Casey Wallace type.
Yeah.
Because I was like, is his handle not quite good enough that he'll be a killer bucket getter? And like, he's not quite big enough to like impose his will athletically in the NBA, which he's been able to do early, like way more than I thought he would, even knowing he was super explosive. Like I thought he was close enough to like Scoot Henderson height that it would still be so hard to leverage that super athleticism. But yeah, I came away from his rookie year, like most people, just feeling like his offensive ceiling is way better than I thought it was. For me, like defense and like off-ball energy on offense was sort of what I thought was going to make him a shit ton of money in the NBA. And those are the things you need from him more than anything this year, which is great. I think he's ready for that assignment.
Yeah, I mean, when their top 5's on the court, he's not going to have plays drawn for him. Like he's going to be scoring on spot ups, cuts, and running his ass off in transition. And then he's going to have to guard the best guard on the other team. And that's kind of going to be his job description, at least when the whole team is healthy. And his shot, I think, is going to be a major factor just for like the overall. It looks
so good in FIBA. He played in FIBA this summer and he shot like, he only took 23s in 2 games, but he went 11 of 20 and it looks faster. The release is like, I'm like, this guy just always, how fast he gets better is crazy.
Yeah. And it felt like in the playoffs last year, like at least over the course of that Knicks series, his offensive impact kind of waned a little bit. But I mean, he's a rookie. You expect that to happen. The other sort of offensive fit thing because I really have no concerns about LeBron, VJ, and Maxey meshing together. I think that's like match made in heaven. Maxey and LeBron kind of pass usage back and forth. LeBron will feed them in transition. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be the Kevin Love now, throwing the outlet passes.
Exactly.
Like Brown, Maxey, and VJ, who are all running. I do wonder a little bit with Joel and Jaylen Brown. They both love to operate from like that high post elbow area. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned with LeBron and the way JJ Redick used him, he was kind of surveying the court from that area too. Like they can't all stand there. That's going to have to be someone's domain, and then the other people are going to have to either go out to the perimeter or Joel's going to go down to the block or whatever it may be. But particularly, and LeBron, I trust to figure whatever he wants to do on the court. But Joel and Jaylen, that sort of being their office at that elbow area, I do wonder a little bit like what the push and pull is going to be there. And they're the ones who are just probably the 2 least malleable of the group of 5, where that's just and I trust the offense to be really good, but if there are thorns in kind of the integration process and the sort of synergy of the whole group, I think it'll come from them sort of being more surveyors and not sort of quick decision makers, and also being a little bit more rigid in the spots they like to operate from.
They like to catch and hold a lot, and it feels like in this offense, if they are catching, I just need them to be decisive and not kind of derail actions. And that's, like I said, that's for Joel specifically, like that's different for him. He's kind of been our whole hub for 5 years, 6 years now, where outside of really just the James Harden little blip, like he's been the main guy, and Maxey is incredible, but he also has not proven to be that guy for at least a full season. And I feel like this is an opportunity for everyone to prove that they can fit into different roles. And I think that Joel's wanted this for a while. I think that Joel has been like, I can't do everything all the time. Can I please just like, I genuinely believe Joel wants to scale down because I think that it's exhausting for him to have to be the basically heliocentric hub for this team because he's the only threat with the ball. And he's also become such a better passer and playmaker. And I think that's a part of his game that's become really underrated. But like, I do think that is ultimately the role that probably he shines with. But like I'm glad you brought that up because they're just going to be based on talent. They will be an objectively good offensive team. But the nights where they look unbeatable, where they have this like high ceiling, that's what I look forward to. And like, can you get the lightning in the bottle at the right time? Because that's what the Knicks did last year, where it was like it took them really like a year and a half to figure this thing out. And then once they did, it was just goodbye. Like they were one of the two best teams from January on, and then just eviscerated teams in the playoffs. And finding their pace is going to be hard with all the guys always in and out of the lineup. But like, I do think that I'm praying that KCP is like serviceable.
That's
like,
a big key.
Serviceable. Like he doesn't need to be fifth starter. He doesn't need to be like, if he is literally our eighth man and he plays 20 minutes a game and he makes open shots and from everything I've heard, it's not his defense is falling off. It's his shot. And he's so tied to his shooting to be his value that the last 2 years, it's just completely cratered his offensive effectiveness. And if he plays 20 to 25 minutes a game and he can just be normal, that
you need the Marcus
everything.
Smart 2026 for the Lakers.
Yeah,
just like, oh shit, he's enough himself to help us win a couple games.
And like, we had to rely way more on Danny Green when he was here, but like just having a guy that was willing to like shoot the way that he did and play defense the way that he did, even at his older age when he was with us, I feel like if we could get that from our seventh or eighth man in a smaller sample of minutes, it could legitimately change the outcomes for this team. And the thing that I've thought about is like, if KCP somehow regains form playing with like a passer and playmaker like LeBron and playing off of a big like Embiid, because that, I mean, obviously Jokic is way better as a passer and playmaker, but he had the best years of his career with Jokic and have played very well with LeBron during his time with the Lakers. Like, if him and Wade are just amazing off the bench, is there a world where it's like, all right, now Simons might be expendable and you can use that salary to then go out at the deadline and either solve the backup big thing or just get someone that you know is a player? Like, I was very annoyed that Marcus Smart signed for the money that he did, because I was like, we're paying Anthony Simons $1 million less than Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
And like, I know that's another guy that would just need the ball, but I'm like, defensively, he would do so much for this team. And just to have 3 elite glue guys coming off the bench potentially would change our lives. But then again, I know you watch Simons a lot, Drew, but like, I'm just a little bit lower on his fit on this team, because I want every guy, I know he's a really good shooter, but I just want every guy that is coming off the bench or is fitting into lineups to be really good on defense, because I know we're going to be a good offensive team. Like, I just want them to be able to lock in and make an impact on that end. And if there's anyone that's like, other than Phylon, who could be like someone that they might have to trade just to make an upgrade, I think the guy would be Simons of all the guys coming off the bench, I would imagine.
Yeah, you don't have to convince me. I'm not a Simons guy.
Yeah,
and
it's unfortunate.
I
He's one of
also,
the best shooters,
yeah.
but that's all he has.
And also just like physical, athletic. Yeah. Like, I know like now like the size looks a lot better, but like with the age and injury histories in the starting lineup, like you just want like bruising bodies coming in, young guys you can take a lot of hits and deliver them to. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like it's going to be hard to keep LeBaron off the floor. Like,
I hope you're right.
I just feel like in December we're like, oh, he needs to be in the rotation all the time, and why don't we just listen to our hearts on stuff like this? Because like it's very easy to imagine a world where LeBron prefers to have him on the floor over Jaylen Brown. Like,
exactly.
I just like the way that kid thinks the game, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally understand. And if Phylon proves to be very playable and KCP is not washed, then you're like Simons. We have a ton of seconds. It's like buy Simons, and we can possibly go get, even if it's just like a Sadiq Bey or something, like someone that will just bomb threes off the bench, but also is physically large enough to stay on the court in the playoffs. That could really change things for us, I think.
Yeah, because I will say with the depth, it's definitely deeper than they were last year. I mean, last year it was like once you start getting into the bench, it was just like non-NBA players.
2 years ago was the worst it's ever been.
Yeah, and the guys that they have now, they're certainly better, but they do have their limitations. Where like Simons, definitely not a playoff defender. Dean Wade is not a playoff offensive player, which led to him falling out of the rotation in Cleveland, where like at the beginning of the series, they'd be starting Dean Wade, and then to like sort of put him on the best point of attack defender as the best point of attack defender. By the end of the series, they realized they just couldn't play him because he would shoot like one time a game, and it would be, his line would be like 0 for 1 from 3 or 1 for 2.
The PJ Tucker line.
Exactly. KCP is the one, if he is sort of any semblance of his sort of old championship self, that can hang on both ends in the playoffs and like you can feel good about. And then the other concern I have about the depth is that it's sort of depth of smalls, where the wing depth isn't quite there in sort of what you're hinting at with like Sadiq Bey. And then the big man rotation is like Bona has his moments, but he's also like a very wild player. I remember he came in one of the Knicks games and got like 5 fouls in about 90 seconds.
He's hilarious, dude.
He is. And LeBron will make him look like as close to JaVale McGee as possible in that late 2020 run.
Sure.
And Barlow, I thought, had some moments in the playoffs last year, and he's a good switchable guy, but he's got his limitations offensively and sort of size wise as well. So I definitely,
at all.
Yeah. And I love Phylon. I had him, I think 10th on my board. Like I saw him as a lottery guy, and every bit the level of prospect that those top guards in the class were. So if he is ready to contribute as a rookie, which is rare for small guards in particular, but if he is, then if you can flip that Simon salary for a wing depth or big depth, that makes a big difference.
Goga's another one that I'm just like, Goga's expiring. That's a guy that I would keep an eye on if the Magic season goes sideways. There are a few guys that I'm like, Jalen Smith from the Bulls, if you really just need like a guy that can come off the bench and shoot and rebound. There are just a few guys that I've had my eye on that I'm like, they're all expiring, and I would like to try to make a push and make this team as well-rounded as possible. And just the last thing on the Phylon bit, like the thing that I think that, and also Barlow, I didn't even know this, led the league in points per possession in transition last year. I saw a post about that earlier. So that's great. Like everyone on this team runs the floor except for Embiid. Like literally every single player in the rotation I expect to be like, even guy, I wasn't crazy about the Huck Porty signing. Like I was just like, he's such a limited offensive player. He fouls all the time. He only played 10 minutes a game for you guys, 9 minutes a game when he ever got the chance to get on the floor.
Yeah.
Like I just think he's too limited. But then I saw the rest of the center market and I was like, well, what was the alternative? Like every veteran's minimum center is awful. Mm-hmm. And then the only guys that we could have realistically paid were like, we weren't going to give Jock Landale the full MLE.
I mean, and his freedom is still waiting for the call.
Yeah, well, if we had Daryl Morey still, we would probably get the call, to be honest. We didn't get LeBron, but
happy America 250 to Ennis.
Yeah. but like the center market was just, it broke horribly for them.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, who could you get? At least Huck Porty's 23 and like will run the floor and be good on defense in the minutes that he can survive on the court. But I'll be real with you. Like you said, Bona, the coaching staff hates Bona. Like Bona is a coach's nightmare because
he's too wild.
He's too erratic. And I think the coaches
and
will
it
give
sucks.
Huck Porty the minutes.
I'm so mad he isn't great, man. He should have been great.
He could be. So my thing is that Bona is in that weird spot where he's like, it's really funny that the Sixers have a few of these, like Barlow and Bona are kind of in this similar mold where it's like a guy that size shouldn't be able to switch on the perimeter or defend like that. But they're both somehow terrible at defensive rebounding. Like to the point where I'm like, Bona, stop trying to block every shot that comes into the lane and get in position to get a rebound. Like that's his real fault. And then offensively, his hands are just made of stone. Yeah. But one thing is that we've never had a passer that is the level of LeBron. And like, if LeBron is able to get these guys out running and he's able to set them up with lobs, like he can make them, I think, 10 to 15 minute a game players if you pair those two together. Yeah.
And so I do want to talk about the defense if you still have a little bit of time, Trill.
I have plenty of time. The defense has been worrying me for sure.
So yeah, he's got to go actually. So
that's where Nick Nurse comes in.
He's gonna have
a Nick Nurse thing. Yeah.
Because I do think, like, you know, when you plug Wade in or KCP in, like it looks a little bit better, but just the main five, when you look at them defensively, and that was really, and maybe the Knicks series is just too like burned into my mind, and just the way that Embiid looked in that series where he just couldn't guard a pick and roll.
He couldn't move.
Like someone, I think he rolled into his knee in the game 7 of the Celtics series. And it was like
Jaylen Brown pushed Maxey into his knee, which is very funny now.
Very Sixers. So when he's out there, and we saw with LeBron, with the Lakers, that I sort of call it the y'all got this defenders of like, I'm going to sit back here. You guys can deal with all the switching and like rotations on the perimeter. When they put LeBron and Luka on the court at the same time, it was having two y'all got this guys out there.
Yeah.
And that in today's NBA, with all the rotations, all the scrambling ball movement, is where defenses really start to crack and like become untenable. So I do worry a lot about LeBron at his advanced age and Joel just in his current injury state, having two guys out there who don't have either the ability or desire or energy to make all those rotations and scrambles and switches at the same time. Will that be tenable defensively, even with like absolute energizer bunnies and Maxey, VJ, and Jaylen between them?
2020 Lakers.
Minus
AD.
I was gonna say
minus all the good defenders.
I was gonna say peak Anthony Davis certainly solved a lot of issues. Alex Caruso only played 17 minutes a game for that team in the regular season somehow. Yeah. But so here is my thing. It all comes down to Joel. Like, that's just the easiest way to say it, is like when Joel is engaged and looks like he did in the Celtic series, and when he looks like he did in the middle of last season, where the first few games of the year, I was like, oh, he's like a horrible defender now. Mm-hmm. Like, you're talking about a guy that was an all defense level center at one point and cannot move. And
did he get a defensive player of the year?
No, he finished like 4th one year or 5th one year, I think, the 2017-2018 season, if I remember correctly.
But he was good enough to get one.
He just became so much more advanced on offense that I feel like those guys never really get the credit for their defense. And also, he, to be clear, like didn't try as hard on that end after a certain year.
Yeah.
And then would try again in the playoffs and was amazing. But the long and short of this is that it just comes down to Joel. Like, if Joel having a little bit more of a backseat on offense and these guys just running in transition all the time allows him to recapture some of the mobility and quickness and rim protection that we saw from him early in his career, this will be fine. If he can't, it's going to be clunky. And like you said, it is up to Nick Nurse to figure it out. But this is what I'll say. Do you think that Gary Trent Jr. is a good defender?
Not really.
On this team, he is.
No. Just Gary Trent Jr. Do you think Gary Trent Jr. is a good defender?
I think I'm penciling him in as average.
Okay.
Because I've seen him be good and I've seen him be bad.
He had the best year of his career defensively with Nick Nurse. Led the league in deflections in that season. Was like 2 steals a game almost to start the year. That year in Toronto. Did you think that Kelly Oubre was a good defender before he was on the Sixers?
True. Yeah.
I think that Nurse can get the most out of these kind of guys. Like, I think that he's been amazing for Maxey. Like, I think that Maxey as a prospect was always someone I was like, long arms, anticipates well. I think he's going to be good in passing lanes. And then he just kind of wasn't in the NBA. And I was like, is this like a coaching thing, or is this like a attention thing, or is he just like too focused on offense? And then we got Nurse, and I was like, oh, Maxey was okay his first year. And his second year was a little bit better. And then his third year, he led guards and stocks this year and was like a genuine disruptor and like took on harder assignments at times and was good on the ball. And I was like, I feel like that is one of the other things that's lost in this is like Maxey is a good defender for a star on ball, like scoring guard.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is not a push. He's not Trae Young.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to be wing sized, he kind of has the ideal guard body for the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Like having super broad shoulders, long arms, wide, low
Quick
base,
laterally.
quick. Yeah. It would be sick if he were 6'7". He's not, but he has a lot of tools that can allow you to still carve out space and make an impact physically. Against bigger dudes.
As hell.
Yeah.
Like he's like
every year he's just like bulking out more and more.
He was over 200 pounds this last year. Like Maxey is not a 180 pound guard. Mm-hmm. And so my thing is like, it will take a step for Maxey. It will take, honestly, I think the person that needs to take the biggest step is VJ. Because we know who Jaylen Brown is at this point. Jaylen's good at guarding. He's good at switching. He's good at rebounding. He's not good at the team stuff. Mm-hmm. And that might be, there might be a Hornets game where they score, or maybe not the Hornets other than LaMelo, but like just a team that has a lot of Pacers game where they score 140 points against us and we look terrible because they're getting all these guys in motion and Halliburton's just picking us apart and they're running on us in transition and LeBron and Embiid are just kind of taking the night off.
Yeah,
that can happen.
We need to save this.
I think. Well,
we need to save this for when that game is ending.
I'm just telling you
that
absolutely can happen. I'm not doubting that.
Yeah.
I also saw that with this team. I'm to the point where I think the regular season is like fake. Like I genuinely am like,
it turns out it actually didn't matter.
They're much more regular season resilient though now with this model because like Brown and Maxey are just like so, durable and play high minutes and like having those guys to fill in for LeBron and Embiid who are going to be sort of varying degrees of part-time players in the regular season is going to be helpful. But I do want to say, and it's good you brought up, or I brought up the Pacers, but you were sort of making that point is I just think they're going to be very matchup dependent defensively where like teams that have a couple key guys that you can clue in on, like Lakers, for example, where you can put Edgecombe on Reeves and Jaylen Brown on Luka, and they're not going to make you move all that much. They're a pretty stationary team. They have the personnel to be able to guard that type of team very well, I think. It's the Pacers. It's the Knicks when they play the style of basketball they were playing in the playoffs of ball movement and sort of spreading you out, making you guard the entire court. Teams that make you cover ground and do it fast are going to be an issue for any team that is trotting out both 42-year-old LeBron and this version of Joel. But teams where they play a little bit more like deliberate in the half court and it's maybe one supernova talent like a Luka Doncic, I think they do have the personnel where they're not good. They're going to hang just fine against those types.
Yeah, I'd feel fine against them against the Pistons, for example.
Yeah.
Like I would be like, load up on Cade, make other guys beat you, jump in passing lanes like the Magic did in that series. And I think you can win a playoff series or beat them in the regular season. For sure. I do worry definitely about the Pacers style teams. I definitely worry about the Knicks style teams, but you're going to have to like, I think part of the reason why they wanted to lean into this style of team is like the only team that's ever given the Knicks problems in the playoffs is the Pacers.
Yeah.
And the Pacers are a team that will just run you to death. And they just want to have, I think they came out of that Knicks series being like, we're not beating this team in a half court series. Mm-hmm. We're just not going to beat them if it's our guys versus their guys. Even Maxey was, I love Maxey to death. Maxey was terrible in that series. And outside of game 2, which I thought he was fantastic in until he ran out of gas at the end. And he just doesn't have the ability to be a Helio guy. But the long and short of it is that I feel like they made the determination that they need to be a team that runs a ton. And they also made the determination of, we're going to do as much as we possibly can to see if this thing works with Joel Embiid. And I think there is a world where we're sitting here at the deadline or next offseason where they're like, whatever it takes to get off the contract. And I would hate to see it, but if that is ultimately your great flaw, because Joel is either at a different stage of his career or can't stay healthy, when you get LeBron James, that's kind of what the business is.
Yeah, I have to run to dinner with my family, but I want to close with, like,
how dare you?
All we know for sure is they'll find a way to break you again this year, right? Like,
of course.
If I told you that you were going to, like, beat the Celtics in a playoff round and still come away from the season super depressed.
Oh, I wasn't. I want to be clear
you
on
were.
that.
You were
no,
fine.
I was.
Okay.
I called this season house money from the jump. And then VJ had the season he had. Maxey had the season he had. Joel was playing basketball again. And they won a Celtic series in a Game 7 in Boston. And I was like, I literally said after that, I was like, I don't give a fuck if we get swept by the Knicks. Like, I was like, the Knicks are a way better team than us. And we had no business winning that series, and sign me up for this season after what we went through the previous 2 years. Like, I was just like, give me that. And so
then you shut me up, because I was like, I feel like they're going to make the finals and still hurt you somehow. You know,
I've said if they make a conference finals, I'll be happy with this era. Just give me that. Give me conference finals. Give me a finals appearance at some point here, and I will be more than happy. Especially if Joel and Maxey are a part of it.
Yeah. Drew, I do want to, Trill, if you have like 5 minutes, I want to ask you one more quick question.
I have time.
Okay.
I could talk about whatever. Yeah.
We'll let Drew go. I did want to, since we're both now fans of Eastern Conference contenders, which again would have sounded crazy 4 years ago. I wanted to know what your sort of fear rankings are of the other Eastern Conference contenders in terms of, like, assuming the Sixers are like a relatively healthy version of themselves, who are the teams that if you see in a playoff series are going to, like, make you feel the most nervous? And I have my own list as well as a Knicks fan.
So Knicks would be one based on the last few times we played you guys in the playoffs, and also just the ceiling that you guys hit this past year. Also the matchup problems are obvious. Yeah. I think that I'll put it like this. I think there are teams that scare me more than some other teams. Like, for example, like you talked about the Pacers. Like, I think the Pacers could just kind of run us to death if Halliburton comes back. And then I don't know if we'll be able to rebound against that team. And there are very similar Knicks-ish problems with them. So just a pure basketball thing, I'd probably put them too.
Okay.
I would say Knicks and then Pacers. From a humiliation standpoint, the Celtics have to be really high up there just because of the way that everything went down with this and the way that everyone's been talking about the Celtics. I think they're going to be a better regular season team than playoff team, where I'm just like, they're going to win 60 games and it doesn't make me feel like they're going to win the finals.
Like, I think they'll be a better regular season team than they were last year, because you're just you're plugging in, we presume, healthy Tatum for healthy Jaylen Brown. And then rather than like the 15 games of Tatum you have however much Paul George you get is going to be better than those 15 games of Tatum. And they had Mitchell Robinson, like, and their young guys all get better. I agree. Like, would not shock me if they're like a top 2 seed in the East again.
Yeah, I think they'll win 60 games next year. Like, I do think that they've solved the regular season. I don't really care about that. Like, I just have gotten to the point with that them and the Thunder that I'm like, this net rating shit doesn't mean anything to me. And like the two teams that were the Pistons and the Celtics should have lost in the first round last year. And that to me tells me that, like, if you win 60 games and 54 games, and then you have like they had like a plus 18 net rating when Tatum came back, and you still lose, like, to me, that just tells me that the regular season doesn't mean as much. Because when those teams used to do that prior to this era, you were a dynasty, basically. Like, the Lakers, the Bulls, the Warriors, if those net rating things, like, I would say if I had all of these regular season accomplishments as the Celtics and the Thunder, and to come away with only as many championships as the Knicks in this era, I would be disappointed, because it's just like, you have this level that you can reach where you look unbeatable, but in the playoffs, The Celtics won one championship, and they've had a ton of success getting to conference finals and all that stuff. But ultimately, they've only had one title so far in this era. And then the Thunder are a team that have been to 2 Game 7s even when they won the finals.
Yeah.
And then obviously they had injury problems this past year, but like they didn't make it back. And they lost in the second round the first year of this. And I just feel like they're like, for example, like I just talked about, like the Pistons don't scare me in the playoffs. Like I think that in the regular season, they'll still be a really good team. I just think that Cade needs to go to like another level for them to really like scare me, because what did they do this offseason to make their team tangibly better in the playoffs? I don't think much at all.
It's so massively huge that they did not get that top 5 pick or the like 5th overall pick.
Oh, you mean the Pacers?
The Pacers, yeah.
I was talking about the Pistons, but yeah, Pacers. But the Pacers that would have been, if they got like the 4th, if they got Caleb Wilson, I would be like, yeah, it might be Jover for us. Like it might just be like they might just be running the league for a little bit here. But I would say, so let's go Knicks, Pacers. I'll put Celtics 3 just because of the humiliation factor, even though I feel pretty good about that. And then 4, I'll also bake in some 4 and 5. I'll bake in the humiliation factor of because I don't know if the Raptors are getting Kawhi now.
I was going to ask about that. Because if they
get Kawhi, that makes me feel different. Like they would probably be 3 on my list if they get Kawhi, maybe 4. But I do think that there's this Heat and Cavs thing where like we got LeBron and the Heat are like not expected to contend this year because they just don't have the adequate rotation players / depth. But this is kind of where they've shined in the past. I am a little bit worried if we face them in like round 1, then I'm like, oh shit. Like the downside here is like pretty massive, even if I feel pretty good about that matchup.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if the Raptors have Kawhi, I think that might be, I have like an irrational fear of the Pacers as a Knicks fan, just because of how painful the last loss was. And the one before that was like a little bit different because the whole team got hurt, but was sort of painful in its own way. And they just clearly have some structural things that like they can stress test the sort of fringes of the Knicks defense and how much Cat and Brunson can hang in a way that these other teams can't. And we saw it, we were talking about matchups with the Sixers defense. Like we saw it in the playoffs this year with the Knicks. You can have the bracket break for you in such a way where you don't play a team that's going to really stress test like the things that are your weaknesses. Like the Knicks didn't play a Pacers type team. The Cavs were maybe the closest thing in terms of ball movement and stuff. But once they got James Harden, that sort of identity was just kind of different. But so the Pacers, although I do think they'll look a little bit different with Zoo, because it's not going to be the same 5 out that they were doing with Miles Turner. Like
that's what made them really just like tough. I mean, every team that has a legit spacing 5 is just extremely hard to cover because you have to cover the whole court.
And it just felt like he never missed against us also. I don't know what it is, but
and he also had those little bullshit long 2s that he would hit too. And you're just like, what can you do when you've solved everything else and he's hitting long 2s?
Yeah. So I'm not going to put the Pacers 1 because I feel like Halliburton coming back, still not totally sure what he's going to look like, but I do feel like irrationally I might put them 2. I think that Toronto, if they have Kawhi, they're just so well equipped to guard like any team, but especially like they have big wings to put on Cat. They have point of attack defenders to guard Jalen Brunson with. There's like no weak points really in their starting lineup except maybe RJ Barrett. I just think that team can be a real pain in the ass to play against. But now they might not get Kawhi because if there's no resolution to this, the Raptors might not want to trade for a guy who's going to get like suspended in the middle of next year.
You talked about the Pacers kind of stress testing the Knicks defense, and like I don't feel like anyone on the Raptors is really going to do that because they do have a ton of size, but like their guard play is, I mean, by far the weakest of every good team. Like, I mean, Emmanuel Quickley is their only like true traditional offensively tilted guard on the team, and you've seen it. Like he's just a limited player in a playoff context.
I worry that they in a hypothetical series they can totally gum up everything the Knicks want to do offensively. Right. And then down the stretch, they have like in Kawhi, they have a guy who can kind of go bar for bar with Brunson in the clutch, or at least can can sort of be on that level. So
Oh.
that's the
Brunson
one.
or Kawhi hasn't played a second round game since 2021.
It's true.
It is very
He's
it is very
dining a
funny.
lot on the
I
19
know
run.
that he, and I mean, it's one of the greatest runs of all time. I was on the other side of it. I understand why people say it, but I do get a kick out of the fact, and maybe it's just because Joel is not this, he's not Kawhi or Giannis level anymore, but like, I do get a kick out of the fact we talk about like availability all the time, and I'm like, Giannis and Kawhi have not played meaningful basketball deep into the playoffs in like 4 years, 5 years.
It's true.
Joel Embiid has played 3 times as many playoff games over the last 4 years as Giannis. And like at a certain point, that has to matter. Even if Giannis was the only guy, like kind of dragged that team to the finish line. And Kawhi's even more extreme because Kawhi hasn't played past the 4th game of the second round since the bubble. And I do think that as we get the fully, because you have to stretch your imagination a little bit with the Sixers to be like, Joel will be healthy and he'll be fine and whatever.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that for them, you have to do it for the Heat and the Raptors as well. But it is just worth noting. And I do think that they'll get Giannis to the playoffs healthy because Miami just always figures out a way to do that bullshit. But I don't know if they can do the Jimmy Butler plan though, where he only played 55 games a year. Like,
no,
I
they're
don't
going
think
to
that team's
need
good enough.
They don't have enough NBA players to do that.
No.
No guys who can score.
Yeah, they did. They're going to be in the play-in again if they do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'd probably settle on Toronto and the Pacers. I think are the two that would give me the most trepidation as a Knicks fan. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's kind of Philly and Detroit, where Detroit it's really mostly just that they kind of bullied the Knicks all regular season last year, and also really like made the Knicks look a lot worse in that first round series 2 years ago, where clearly like Asar Thompson's probably the best Brunson defender in the league, and they're not going to get bullied on the glass in a way that sort of, a Cleveland might or something like that. And Cade can sometimes get into zones where no one can guard him. But they're kind of, Detroit and Toronto are kind of similar teams where it's like, they're going to guard you really well. And then what does the half court offense look like down the stretch? And how much can it just be Cade and Kawhi, making tough shots and sort of delivering in the clutch? And then Philly is sort of the other direction of, can this team be a transcendent offensive team where like you have to beat them 125 to 120 to win. And that just puts a lot of pressure, and the Knicks are capable of that, but that puts a lot of pressure to know that you have to get to that high of a number every game just to have a chance of winning. So that would sort of be the next two, I think, would be Detroit and Philly, but for opposite reasons. Detroit, it's like, these games are going to be in the mud. We're going to come out of this series with scars if we win it. And then Philly is more like, if they're rocking on all cylinders, like there's not going to be a lot of places for our guys to hide defensively, and the offense is going to have to be like blistering. But as you said, in the half court, I do trust the Knicks to be able to score against Philly.
And the other part, like I've been saying this for years, I do just feel like if, at least for starter level players, because there are still guys that you can trust to come off the, like Landry Shamet for you guys this past year, especially in like a movement system. But like, I feel like having all 5 starters be able to do something with the ball is more important than it's ever been in the history of the NBA right now. Yeah. And I was saying, this is why I'm higher on the Knicks. I picked you guys to go to the finals. I did pick you guys to lose in the finals, but I picked them to go to the finals because I was just like, who on that team can't do something with the ball? And also almost everyone is an adequate shooter and spacer, and they have a little bit of a defensive infrastructure to cover for some of the other stuff. And the Pacers and the Celtics are basically out of the picture this year. So who is just kind of the logical choice? And it was the Knicks. And I didn't think that they were going to reach the level that they did. But every time we go into these, like the Pistons are an obvious example of just like, and you talked about Dean Wade, where it's like Dean Wade can't do anything with the ball. Yeah. Like Dean Wade is someone that is just purely a play finisher, energy guy, defensive guy. A PJ Tucker. He would have been very useful in previous generations of the NBA. I don't think he's super useful in this generation, just relative to other high-level playoff players. And obviously he's coming off our bench now, so it's a little bit different. But my point on this is that it feels like the thing that has been driving me a little bit crazy is I'm like, I think the worst ball handler in our starting lineup is now VJ Edgecombe. And if you had told me that when we drafted him, I would have been like, I feel pretty fucking good about this.
Yeah.
And it's going to look rough at times in the regular season, I think. And I just don't care about that. Just get me a top 6 seed, which I do think they can do now.
Yeah.
And then, like, so many of these teams have those kind of flaws where, honestly, I will say the one thing that, like, I understand why OKC moved on from Dort, and I think the one thing that will make them better this year is now they have 5 guys that can do a little bit with the ball in a way that Dort was just always going to limit you in that regard. And defensively, I don't think that he's he's a very good utility player to have, where it's like, hey, we're playing against the Lakers. Can you just give me 20 minutes of good defense on Luka tonight and like 20 minutes of good defense against the Wolves on Anthony Edwards, and we'll figure out, like, but the, like, ability for everyone to do something with the ball is the most important thing in a playoff context now, and also stay on the floor as a shooter and defender. And that's what I feel like. That's why I feel like the Sixers probably have the second best chance if everything clicks in the Eastern Conference behind the Knicks. Going into next year. Yeah.
And that's what the Pacers realized when they were at their best, is like, just everyone's driving, everyone's a threat. Good luck.
And we also have the supercomputer processor and Hallie putting it all together.
Exactly. And that's what LeBron's got to be. LeBron James is a Philadelphia 76er.
Unbelievable.
All right. I'll let you go. Appreciate you giving all your time to us. And we'll see. May have you on before then, but perhaps we'll be meeting in the Eastern Conference Finals next year.
I hope so. All right. Thanks for having me on, Max. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right. We'll be back soon. Peace.